Thank you for joining us. I'm Bev.
And I'm Mabel, and we're both senior service designers from Optus.
There we go. And we're so excited to be here. But wait, hold on. One more thing. Hello? Are you there, God? It's us. Yes, millennial designers.
Thank you for joining us today. Stick around, God. We have some asks for you if you have the capacity.
So you might be wondering how we ended up here. We don't always look this glammed up. In fact, this is usually how we look. This might be a familiar face that you all have, staring into a Teams meeting, thinking about the day ahead. But this face wasn't built in a day.
So we'll take you back down memory lane when we first started in our workforce. There are lots of stereotypes about millennials when we first started. You know, we're lazy, we're entitled. Very similar to what we're plastering on the Gen Zs today.
I know.
It's almost like a little cycle. The world was rapidly changing. Everyone was really unsure. But we were struggling to keep up ourselves as well.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but putting together this slide, those headlines really make me nostalgic. I don't think I ever had a generation be defined by a single brunch meal before. Another key pillar that shaped how we think as managers were our first bosses. I didn't even start out as a designer. I started out as a baby lawyer in a community legal service that was severely under-resourced. That's where I had my first models of leadership, where people were really trying to get great outcomes for really difficult situations. I learned a lot about empathy there, but I also developed a lot of bad habits, throwing myself into work wholly and not creating good boundaries around emotional safety. How about you, Mabel?
Yeah, so at the center of our first experience is the imposter syndrome. So I'm sure everyone has had this imposter syndrome, Rachel. And also Googling like crazy, you know, just nodding along in every single meeting, just wondering, okay, will I finally understand what's happening in this space? And I had a really good first experience. My first boss was a non-micromanager, which really allowed us to to have the space to make mistakes and grow. And I think that also inspired us to bring this to this Design Outlook talk today.
We knew getting into management, especially managing designers, was not going to be easy, but we didn't really know all the mistakes and the challenges that were going to be lying ahead and how difficult it was going to be.
Yeah, we were suddenly thrust into these roles of, being sort of like a design manager. We have to balance some expectations of our younger colleagues and the demands of our bosses. It was a tough balancing act, but, we also want to uphold the standards set by our generations before. We want to do them proud. And honestly, as millennials, we are constantly trying to please everyone. We want to be the best person in the room. And so we prayed to the design god. So hopefully he's around here or she's around here. And we manifested these three main things to happen.
The first one is be a cool boss. I know that's something embarrassing to admit, but I want to be liked by people.
So the second one is to have the perfect work-life balance. So I moved here from Singapore 2 years ago, and honestly, there wasn't much work-life balance in Singapore. And when I got to Australia, I'm like, you're right, I'm in the right place. This is the work-life balance city. And the third, I think every single designer wants this, is just to do good work without the noise, without the stakeholder noise, without every other noise in the background. And so what we did is we took some inspiration from Maslow to really get to the heart of the true needs of the workplace.
So we're going to try this out. I don't know if we're going to get any of these wishes, but we're going to ask anyway. So are you there, God? Please let me be seen as a cool boss. Okay, so the first thing was I now had a team and they were mostly Gen Zs. And look, they're recycling headlines. If I didn't know better, I would say AI is writing these headlines and they've just regurgitated everything from 2017. But it was my first sort of challenge of not putting those attitude and those biases in so that they had freedom to shape about who they want. And that's the thing about us designers, right? We put empathy at the center of so many of the things that we do in our research methods, in how we listen to our stakeholder, our clients, our customers. It is kind of no wonder that compassionate leadership is something that we've leaned towards when we are stepping into these management roles. But what's compassionate leadership? So basically, it's defined as achieving business outcomes while prioritizing the well-being of the entire team. If that sounds exhausting and contradicting, it feels exhausting and contradicting trying to do both things. And you know what? It turns out you may be practicing bad compassionate leadership models. It is not a true well and end all to everything. So you can see in this 2x2 in the back here, there are ways that we can fall into bad traps of compassionate leadership. I hope you don't mind, Mabel, but I put us both here at caring avoidant. It's a point where you let empathy be the barrier to action. Working from solely on design tools to actually managing a team, this is where we kind of got stuck in. And okay, and this is the point, please laugh if any of these you can relate to. The first one, you tell your junior designers it's fine to log off, and then you take on their workload anyway.
Yep. Or trying to say no to impossible design requests from the stakeholders, but also never forgetting to bring 10 other designs or just not coming to the table empty and without alternate solutions.
And finally, you might have a group chat with other managers where you just send each other dog on fire memes. We've got one. It's called "Oh No," and that's it.
So, Bev, looks like we all have our fair share of challenges. So as part of this Design Outlook talk, what we've done is we've interviewed our dear friends and colleagues. So many of us all have the same sentiments. So for example, some positives that are on the screen right now. The younger generations are not afraid of speaking up and pitching in bold ideas. They're happy to change things. And also, we as the new millennial managers, we actually have the ability to alter some toxic workplace practices. So all good stuff. On the other hand, there are still some negative feedback that we got from our friends. So for example, it's quite challenging to manage people in general, especially when there's a huge range of ages in your team and, expectations that seniority actually comes with age. And also it doesn't help that we're Asians and we look kind of young. And also sometimes people just want you to take away the problem. They're not here to hear for your solutions. They just want you to solve it for them. So what we've learned is that there are lots of people-pleasing tendencies in us. Just maybe two of us, not sure about you guys. It's important to draw a hard line so we actually can get the tough things done, because only then we will know how to accept and act on those criticisms and improve as a team. And also speaking to other managers, it's not only just sending dog fire memes, right? It's just learning about what they've experienced and also trying to see if it applies to us in our context.
Yeah, and having these conversations with a lot of people in the room today, it's nice to know that you're not alone when you're going into these roles. So we're trying to move across the quadrant. We're trying to move into wise compassion. And there are a couple of things that we've picked up along the way that we think are slowly inching us to the right direction. The first one is caring presence, or just being present. When you're in a day when you're pinged by 5 Teams chat and then emails coming as well, when you're with your team members, it's kind of important just to sit there, be there, and listen so that you pick up things that are not being said. The second one, carrying candor, is something that I struggle with. You've heard of technical debt, but there's also empathy debt. When you don't get to a tough conversation quickly enough and you don't build those skills, that's when it becomes harder and harder and when you kind of spiral. So I'm very lucky to have a great team and people like Mabel where I can talk about vulnerable thoughts and stupid things just so that we can get it out of the way. And then finally, the culture of celebrating failing and learning. I know we talk a lot about failure in design, and the thing with culture is, from what we've seen, it really is a sort of top-down approach. So for me, it's being able to have those open, vulnerable conversations with my bosses and looking at those failures and having the courage to share that. And that kind of fosters that carrying transparency, which then breeds the culture of trust and confidence. All right.
Are you there, God? Please let me have a perfect work-life balance. So raise your hand if you or someone you know have been in Japan the last 12 months. That's me. Raise your hands if you've been on this Jetstar or Booking.com page during a meeting, wondering if you have enough leave to go to Japan. By the way, Qantas is having a retail sale. Looking at you, Ben. So honestly, burnout happens. You know, we all experience some sort of burnout every now and then. And what matters to us, especially now, you know, if we're having like a team, how do we navigate these emotional lows and come back stronger and combat this burnout?
Yeah, I don't know about you, Mabel, but productivity felt like a cornerstone of my personality. So my schedule a couple of years ago when I started as a manager looked a lot like this. I don't know. I started microdosing. Thank you. Microdosing, existential dread in the morning, and then on to a day of double booked meetings. So this might be a familiar schedule to you too. And I think I didn't even learn about the word burnout till 2019 when like suddenly everybody was burning out. But, you know, as Dr. Taylor Allison Swift said, paraphrasing, burnout is a choice. So I thought we'd get away with this sort of schedule for a long time. But the thing is, my mentor told me at that point in time to spring clean my commitments and make space for other things and rest, importantly. I didn't listen, so my body decided to listen to me. And if there's one way to cure burnout, get an autoimmune disease. There's no faster way than your body telling you to stop, for you to really relook at your schedule, relook at your life, really, and decide that this is not what I want and reprioritize it. But we don't want our teams to get to that point before relooking at their schedules as well.
100%, Bev. I hope you're feeling better.
I feel fine.
So what we've realized is that, you know, there are lots of drivers for the perfect work-life balance, and that it starts from the individual level. So we investigated it from a three-pronged approach. So when you tie your identity and value to self-worth, it may act as a driver to burnout sometimes. So what we've done is we've asked our teams to rethink what design means to you. You do not need to work endlessly and leave space for, you know, your non-employment passions like snowboarding, skiing, lots of related stuff to Japan. And also what we can do is to create safe environments for them to actually speak up, tell us when, you know, things are getting too overwhelming, and also that these non-employment passions actually take work, and that it's going to be the key to work-life balance.
Secondly, it's the workplace itself. Some places are burnout machines, and design in particular, I think, is where passion gets thrown in a lot as well, and seems like a baseline requirement to the job that you're going to have. But as managers, I think one of the things that we can influence in this way is that deciding what not to do is just as important as deciding what to do. That has been said by Steve Jobs, one of the design gods, I think. So it's on us to take the risk to discontinue idea to set more realistic productivity expectations. So that builds around our team. And apart from that, it's highlighting policies that can help our teams in our workplace, and then also agitating for more of it. And then last one, we thought we couldn't look at this without looking at the wider social influence of it. When you come into work and you're bringing your whole self, your half self, your quarter self, whatever you're comfortable with, it means that you're also taking everything that is cracking in society. There are things legislatively that are being set up at the moment to let us have a better work-life balance. But I think it means that we do have to continue to ask for changes on a wider level as well. It can't all be on the burden of the individual or on the workplace.
Yeah, so remember, it's about steering the ship, saying no to overload. You want to be able to enjoy your meal in Tokyo, not wandering around half days with your team's notifications on. Are you still there, God? This is the last wish. Please let me do good work without the noise. We've been told a lot of things in our corporate journey. Chase after your passion and you never work a day in your life. Bev, we are like your family. I'm sorry, Bev, we can't promote you because of the economic downturn. Bev, we need AI in this product. So what we've done is we've used the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but we've sort of put a little twist on it. So we tossed it out. We created our own. Firstly, we all need a laptop that works, right? So very simple, but very necessary. I think it's a lot better for the ones with the PCs, not so much with the Macs. They're being shunned whenever you step into IT. So it's very important to make friends in IT. And so you'll be all set. Secondly, you want to be able to say what you think without being judged. And I think this is really important to create that safe environment for your team to ask the stupid questions. Because when I started off as a junior researcher, it was really tough to start asking stupid questions because I was afraid of what everyone would think of me. And also, so it's more important for us to create environments with guardrails where it feels safe to fail.
Thirdly, we've got work friendships. So the average person spends about 81,396 hours at work. That's equivalent of 9 years, and that's a long time to do anything alone. I don't think I need to tell Design Crowd that nothing really gets done without a solid friendship foundation. If I didn't have Mabel to text when someone asks me to prove the value of design again, I'll stay a lot less at any of the jobs that I've held so far. Friendships are the lifeline for crucial social connection, collaboration, and support, especially during times of change like we've had in the last 4 years. It's been absolutely crazy. So placing social well-being is something that we've put near the top for our teams and how we've decided to run our teams. And then finally, we've got on the top of the pyramid, autonomy and trust. For those of you who have been in design for a few years, you will probably have autonomy and trust as the top of your list in any workplace that you're looking for, because that's when you do your best work, right? You've got a well-defined problem, you're trusted to deliver a solution. And one of the things that we feared, I think, when getting into a manager role was micromanaging any of our teams. So at first, we were very hands-off. We trusted our teams to go get the best design possible. But the thing is, I think we found out that autonomy and trust is something that you do have to work towards. And it's something that sometimes your team members might appreciate just a tiny sprinkle of micromanaging. And how we've learned to calibrate through that is to ask questions and make it an open environment for them to ask questions back. Things like, are you sure you know how to do this? Do you need support?
Do you know what's this acronym that we're talking about nonstop in this meeting?
And then when a task is done, asking for feedback quite immediately. Was that support enough? Because you ask enough times, they tell you to back off. And generally, that's when you know that they are finally free to have the autonomy and trust on the top of this pyramid. Sorry. The slides are not.
So,
there you go. Yeah.
Did we get what we wanted? Not really. There are good days and there are some bad days. So it's very rewarding when the people you have in your team are actually thriving at work. And you can really see it. You can feel the energy. Bad days still mean falling on bad habits, stretching ourselves too thin, saying yes when we actually should just say no, and also practicing caring avoidance. But being the people-pleasing millennials, we are no longer asking for permissions to do or even want these things.
Instead, we're taking what we learned from not getting exactly what we want to help our teams get closer to whatever goals that they might have. And for all of you to go and use up your quota to make new mistakes and come back to tell us about it.
You may take your leave, God. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.